Today's video will be a compressed review of this year's spotlights so far. We are now in the book of Jacob, where Nephi begins to be old and dies. We learn that 55 years have passed since Lehi left Jerusalem. Nephi was marrying age then and able to have children, so he would have been in his mid-teens, making him around 70 or so at the time of his death. Verse 7 is loaded with idiomatic expressions. Here's what it says. Wherefore we labored diligently among our people, that we might persuade them to come unto Christ, and partake of the goodness of God, that they might enter into his rest, lest by any means he should swear in his wrath they should not enter in, as in the provocation in the days of temptation, while the children of Israel were in the wilderness. A quick list of expressions includes coming unto Christ, partaking of the goodness of God, and entering into his rest. These are all expressing the imagery of Lehi's vision of the tree of life. I've shared with you many passages in the Book of Mormon how partaking, or in other words, tasting of these things are synonymous with one another. But Jacob is referring to the days of Moses, where he tried to sanctify the Israelites to enter into God's rest. This is what Enoch labored to do, and he succeeded. But Moses did not succeed, and as a matter of fact, God told Moses that he was prepared to destroy all the Israelites and start over. Moses persuaded God to spare them, which God did. But let's read D&C section 84, which I have quoted many times in these spotlights. In verses 19 and also 22 through 25, we read, And this greater priesthood administereth the gospel, and holdeth the key of the mysteries of the kingdom, even the key of the knowledge of God. For without this no man can see the face of God, even the Father, and live. Now this Moses plainly taught to the children of Israel in the wilderness, and sought diligently to sanctify his people, that they might behold the face of God. But they hardened their hearts, and could not endure his presence. Therefore the Lord in his wrath, for his anger was kindled against them, swore that they should not enter into his rest while in the wilderness, which rest is the fullness of his glory. Did you catch that? We're going to go over this shortly. Therefore he took Moses out of their midst, and the holy priesthood also. Nephi had this priesthood. Therefore his people were not cut off from God. They lived after the manner of happiness, which I explained in the previous video. Now let's read what Mormon said in Moroni chapter 7 verse 3. Wherefore I would speak unto you that are of the church, that are the peaceable followers of Christ, and that have obtained a sufficient hope, by which ye can enter into the rest of the Lord from this time henceforth, until ye shall rest with him in heaven. There it is again. So now we're diving deeper into what this rest means. We can find rest right now until we rest in heaven. Now, I will tell you how Jesus Christ defines this specific idiomatic expression. And for this, we're going to read D&C section 84, verse 24, again, in case you forgot. But they hardened their hearts and could not endure his presence. Therefore the Lord in his wrath, for his anger was kindled against them, swore that they should not enter into his rest while in the wilderness, which rest is the fullness of his glory. Jesus Christ defines this rest as the fullness of his glory. It is to be brought back into his presence. It is to taste of his goodness. This is the path to receiving the second comforter, as I explained in a previous video expounding John chapter 14. If anybody defines God's rest as something else, they are not defining it using the scriptures. So there you have it, straight from our Savior Jesus Christ, who gave this revelation to Joseph Smith, as found in D&C section 84. This is what Nephi painstakingly wanted us to understand with regard to Lehi's vision of the tree of life. If you notice, when the people in the vision came to the end of the iron rod, they fell to the ground. This is significant. Their labors in seeking that indescribable joy that only comes with partaking of salvation, as we read in 1 Nephi chapter 15, verse 36, comes to an end. Look that up, and then connect it with D&C section 6, verse 13. Partaking of the fruit means partaking of the greatest of all of God's gifts, which is salvation. Enoch and his people found this rest. Moses and the Israelites did not. After Joseph Smith was taken, the saints forfeited their opportunity to enter into this same rest. But you and I can find this rest individually today. To ignore this is tantamount to refusing to partake of the fruit of the tree of life, like Laman and Lemuel refused. They never found that rest. We can be like Nephi and Jacob and find this rest. Or we can be like Laman and Lemuel, who refused to find this rest with what little time remains.